Welcome to the Lifetime Assembly channel. My name is John, and today I'm going to help you assemble your 10x8 outside shed. Before we get started, make sure the model number of your shed is listed in the description below. This video will follow the steps outlined in the assembly manual that comes with the shed. If you've already begun and need help on a specific step, check the description below for a timestamp associated with each step. Your shed comes on a pallet in a couple different boxes. Let's take a look at what you should have received. There are steps within this assembly that require more than one person, so be sure to have at least one other adult available to help. Before we get into the assembly process, let's take a look at the tools you'll need to complete the job. You'll need a 3/8 wrench, two 7/16 wrenches, a 3/8 socket, a rubber mallet, a Phillips head screwdriver, needle nose pliers, safety glasses, a ladder, and a drill. You may see us use an impact driver. If you decide to use one as well, be sure not to over torque or over tighten the hardware. To make this easier, we're going to use a socket set, vice grips, a Phillips head bit, and a socket adapter. All Lifetime sheds require a platform to be built on. We recommend building one out of concrete, but you can also build one out of lumber. It's crucial that you refer to your assembly manual to review the safety instructions for this build to prevent serious injury or property damage. This video is meant to be used as a companion to the assembly manual and not a direct replacement. So for the best results, make sure to have the assembly manual on hand during the build. All right, let's get started. This section will go over how to build the foundation of your shed. Since we're inside, we're not going to be able to do that, but it's important that you do. So refer to your manual in section 1 to see how to properly build your foundation. Take two gutter channels and line up the holes in the end with the holes in the connector, making sure that one of the gutter channels has a notch at the end. When connecting the gutter channel to the connector, you'll be using these long screws. There is one that's similar, but just a little bit shorter, and you'll use this later. Line up the holes in the ends of the truss brace with the holes in the middle of the gutter channel. Connect the truss brace to the gutter channel, making sure the head of the bolt is on the inside of the gutter channel. To make tightening this hardware easier, I like to use a Phillips bit inside of a pair of vice grips. Insert the truss rod into the connector and the truss brace and secure with the hardware. Only tighten enough so that the rod doesn't wiggle. Repeat the previous steps for another truss assembly, making sure that one of the gutter channels has a notch at the end. Take the long gutter channel and the short gutter channel, line up the holes in the end with the holes in the connector. The long gutter channel will not have a notch in the end. Line up the holes in the middle of the long gutter channel and the holes at the end of the short gutter channel with the holes in the truss brace. Connect the long gutter channel to the truss brace using the same method as the other trusses. Add the vertical truss brace to the short gutter channel, making sure it's oriented like this. Add the horizontal truss brace to the short gutter channel and the vertical truss brace, making sure the holes line up. When adding the hardware, the short screw that we mentioned earlier will connect the vertical truss brace to the horizontal truss brace. At this point, make sure all the hardware is tight. Add the truss rod to the connector and the truss brace using the same method as the other trusses. Add the L bracket to the horizontal truss brace, making sure the oblong hole goes against the truss brace and that the nut is on the inside of the channel. Only finger tighten this hardware for now. Insert the support tube into the square hole at the end of the short gutter channel, making sure that the flat side is face up. Take two gable halves, line them up in the center, and secure with the hardware. Place the screen onto the vent, making sure the holes line up, then place the vent and screen on the front side of the gable, line up the holes, and secure with the hardware. Repeat the previous steps for a second gable. Take the header bar, which is the short square tube, and insert the caps into the ends. Line up the holes in the header bar with the divots in the small gable, making sure that the dimpled holes are facing down and that the square dimpled hole is facing towards the bottom of the gable. Secure the header bar to the gable through the oblong holes. Take a long square tube and line up these holes with these two holes on the left door, which is the door with the Lifetime logo. Then insert the tube into the hole at the bottom of the door, making sure that this hole goes in first and is on the same side as the front of the door. Leave a few inches of the tube hanging out the bottom of the door. Insert the cap into the bottom of the tube and then finish sliding the tube until it's flush with the bottom of the door. Add the door latch bracket to the door oriented like this. Only finger tighten this hardware for now. Locate these divots at the top and bottom of the door and drill them out with the provided 1/8 drill bit. You will be going through the metal underneath, but only through the first layer, so don't go all the way through. Add the spacer and the lock to the holes you just drilled out. The spacer at the top will need to stay up and be oriented like this. The locks are different, so make sure when you add the lock over the spacer that it looks like this. Then secure to the door with the hardware. Repeat the previous steps at the bottom of the door, except this time, make sure the spacer says down. Take the two halves of the handle and slide them together. Place the handle over the holes on the front of the door and then secure on the back side with the hardware. Insert the hinge tube into the opposite edge of the door, making sure to leave a few inches hanging out of the top and bottom. On the back side of the door, locate this groove around the window and insert the butyl tape. Peel the plastic film off both sides of the window. Lay the window over the butyl tape, making sure the holes line up. Secure the window to the door with the 14 screws. Take the other long square tube and place it into the bottom of the right door using the same method as before. Secure the tube in place by inserting a self-tapping screw into this divot on the back side of the door. Attach the locking hardware to the door, making sure it's oriented like this. Take the two halves of the handle and slide them together. Connect the handle to the door, making sure to add this bracket to the back side. Insert the hinge tube into the opposite edge of the door using the same method as the other door. Add the window to the door using the same method as before. All of your floor panels will be folded like this. Unfold your panels and lay them out. Connect an inside panel to an outside panel. The orientation of the inside panel is important, so make sure that this round hole goes against the outside panel. To connect the panels, lift one up at a 45-degree angle, interlock the tabs, and lay it back down. The next panel is the same as the previous panel, but you'll need to rotate it 180 degrees so that the round hole is in the opposite corner. The door can go on either long edge. Decide which side you want the door to go on and insert your bushings into the round hole and the keyhole on the neighboring panel. Along the seams of the panels, locate these divots and secure with the hardware. Locate this hole in between the bushings you added earlier, and then add the strike plate, making sure the holes in the strike plate line up with the divots next to the hole. Similar to how you added the windows to the doors, add the windows to the narrow wall panels. On all 7 wall panels labeled AHD, insert the wall support into the channel just below the cutout at the top of the wall panel, and make sure that the two holes that are close together on the wall support are at the top. Secure the wall support to the wall panel with the hardware. To the corner wall panel labeled AGW, add a wall support to the channel closest to the left edge, making sure the two holes on the wall support are at the bottom of the wall panel. Do this for the other wall panel labeled AGW as well. For the two corner panels labeled AGL, insert the wall support into the channel closest to the right edge and make sure that the two holes that are close together on the wall support go at the top of the wall panel. On the narrow window wall panel labeled BDI, add the wall support to the channel closest to the right edge and make sure that the two holes that are close together on the wall support are at the bottom of the wall panel. On the narrow window wall panel labeled BDH, add the wall support to the channel closest to the left edge and make sure that the two holes that are close together on the wall support are at the top of the wall panel. Add the window wall panel labeled BDI to these cutouts next to this bushing. Slide the panel over towards the bushing to lock it into place. I'm comfortable kicking the panel over with my foot, but if you're not, you can use a block and a rubber mallet. Take the corner wall panel labeled AGW and slide it into these cutouts. Slide it towards the front of the shed to lock it into place. Lean the panel over, fold it in half, and line up the tabs at the bottom with the cutouts on the floor panel. It may be helpful to put a block under each tab as you apply downward pressure to lock it into place. Before you secure the two panels together, make sure that they're even at the top. Add a wall panel labeled AHD to these cutouts, slide it towards the corner wall panel, and secure them together. Now add another wall panel labeled AHD. Add a corner wall panel labeled AGL to this corner using the same method as the first corner wall panel. The wall panels won't be even at the top, so make sure that the divot on the corner wall panel is centered in the hole on the neighboring wall panel. Add 3 wall panels labeled AHD to this edge of the floor. Take the corner wall panel labeled AGW and insert it into this corner using the same method as before. Add 2 wall panels labeled AHD to this edge of the floor. Add the final corner wall panel labeled AGL to this corner. Add the final window panel labeled BDH here next to this bushing. There are 3 different height settings that you can choose for your shelf. They're determined by these divots on the corner wall panel. Decide how high you want your shelf to be and insert your bracket into the slots on the wall support just below the cutouts at the top of the wall panel. On each corner wall panel, insert the screw anchors into the divots that match the same height as where you put your shelf brackets. Add these shelf brackets over the screw anchors, making sure the oblong holes go against the wall. Take your shelf and unfold it. On the back of the shelf, insert the support tubes into the channels, making sure the long support tube goes in the long channel and the short support tube goes in the short channel. Push down firmly so you can hear the tube lock into place. Place the shelf onto the brackets, making sure that where it says front is facing the front. Secure the shelf to the brackets using 2 screws each. Repeat the previous steps for the shelf on the opposite side. With the help of another person, lift a gable onto this side of the shed, make sure all the holes line up and secure with the hardware. Take a truss and insert it into the cutouts at the top of the wall panels. Make sure that the end with a notch goes into the open cutout next to where the doors will go. Continue to hold the truss until it's secured in place. Have someone lift a roof panel up over the gable and into the truss. You'll know the roof panel is in the correct position when the alignment nub fits in the notch on the truss. Secure the roof panel to the wall panel through the bottom 4 holes. Now secure the roof panel to the 2 bottom holes on the truss and the 3 bottom holes on the gable. Insert a roof support into the notch on the gable and a notch on the roof panel. Finish securing the roof panel to the truss and gable. Add a roof panel to the opposite side using the same method as the other roof panel. If you're struggling to get things to line up, click on this link to see a video with some helpful tips. Repeat the previous steps on the opposite side of the shed, adding a gable, truss, and 2 roof panels. Take the center truss and insert this end into the cutout in the middle of the back wall. Lift the other end up so that the ends of the roof support line up with these holes on the trusses. While someone holds the truss in place, secure the ends of the support tube to the trusses with the hardware. Take the left door and insert the hinge tube into the bushing, making sure the hole in the hinge tube lines up with the slit in the bushing. Insert the cotter pin from the outside going in and expand the ends to lock it into place. Repeat the previous steps for the other door. Close the doors and place a small gable over the hinge tubes. You may need to adjust the doors or the walls a little bit so that this tab goes into the truss. Make sure that the truss goes into this notch on the gable and then secure the L bracket to the divot and tighten the hardware. Add 2 roof panels on the back wall across from the gable over the doors. On this side of the shed, add the drainage plate labeled R into the truss and secure with the hardware. Repeat for the opposite side using the drainage plate labeled L. Take the large angled roof panel and fold the flaps up. Then place the roof panel up onto the center truss. Secure the roof panel to the gable and truss. Now secure the drainage plate to the roof panel. Add the small angled roof panel over the previous panel and secure to the truss and panel. Place the roof panel labeled BDS over the left door, making sure it lays flush. The roof panel labeled BDR will go on the other side. Secure those roof panels to the other panel and the truss. Next, you're going to secure the gable to the hinge tube by inserting a self-tapping screw into this location. Start slow and build up your speed. The manual doesn't call for washers, but if you have some extra, I like to use them here. On either end of the shed, place a roof cap labeled AGG over the gable and two roof panels. Secure to the gable with the 4 screws. Place the next roof cap labeled AFY over the previous roof cap and secure to the truss and roof panels. Repeat this process 2 more times with the other roof caps labeled AFY. The last roof cap will be labeled AFW. Take a skylight and fold it in half, place it through the hole, line up the tabs with the holes, and secure with the hardware. Repeat this process for the remaining 3 skylights. Insert these clips into these holes on the sidewalls. The shed comes with these hooks and can go anywhere in these recesses throughout the shed. Next, you're going to need to level your doors. Follow this link here to see a video on how to properly do that. We've already done that, so we're going to move on to the next step. Once the doors are level, have someone go inside and another person close the door and lock it, and then tighten the door locking hardware. Next, you need to anchor your shed to your foundation. Since we're inside, we're not going to be able to do that, but it's important that you do. So refer to your instruction manual in section 12 to see how to properly anchor your shed to your foundation. Thank you for watching this video on how to assemble your Lifetime 10x8 outside shed. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up. For more content like this, subscribe to our channel. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to our customer service team and check out our other awesome products at lifetime.com.